Welcome to Context of the Past. Today, we journey back to the final, tumultuous days of the Roman Republic to uncover the story of one of history's most iconic figures, Gaius Julius Caesar, a name that echoes through millennia, synonymous with power, ambition, and betrayal. But who was the man behind the legend? Born in 100 BC into a patrician family that wasn't particularly wealthy or influential at the time, Caesar's early life was shaped by the brutal civil wars of his youth. As a young man, he was nearly executed by the dictator Sulla for refusing to divorce his wife, Cornelia. This brush with death taught him a valuable lesson. In the dangerous game of Roman politics, you either win or you die. He began his climb up the cursus honorum, the sequential order of public offices. He served as a military tribune, a quaestor in Spain, and then an aedile in Rome, where he spent lavishly on public games and works, winning the hearts of the common people, the plebeians. This popularity was his greatest asset, but it also made him a target for the conservative senators, the Optimates, who saw him as a dangerous populist. In 60 BC, Caesar made a move that would forever change the course of Roman history. He formed a secret alliance with two of the most powerful men in Rome, Gnaeus Pompeius Magnus, or Pompey the Great, Rome's most celebrated general, and Marcus Licinius Crassus, its wealthiest man. This pact, known as the First Triumvirate, was an unofficial political machine designed to bypass the Senate and advance their own ambitions. It was a private agreement that held public power, effectively seizing control of the Republic. With the backing of Pompey and Crassus, Caesar was elected consul in 59 BC. After his year in office, he secured the governorship of Gaul, modern-day France, and Belgium. This was his chance to prove his military genius and build a personal fortune. For nearly a decade, he waged a relentless and often brutal campaign, the Gallic Wars. His military dispatches from the front lines, the Commentary di Bello Gallico, were masterpieces of propaganda. Written in clear, direct Latin, they painted him as a brilliant and decisive commander, justifying his actions and cementing his heroic image back in Rome. He conquered all of Gaul, crossed the Rhine to campaign in Germania, and even launched two expeditions to Britain, a land of myth and mystery to the Romans. His legions became fiercely loyal, not to the state, but to him personally. But back in Rome, the political landscape was shifting. Crassus was killed in a disastrous campaign in the east, breaking a key link in the triumvirate. Pompey, growing jealous and wary of Caesar's rising power, aligned himself with the Senate. They saw Caesar's loyal army and immense popularity as a direct threat to the Republic. In 49 BC, the Senate delivered an ultimatum: disband your army and return to Rome as a private citizen to face prosecution. Caesar knew this was a political death sentence. He stood with his 13th Legion at the banks of a small river called the Rubicon, the legal boundary of his province. To cross it with his army would be an act of treason and civil war. According to the historian Suetonius, after a moment of hesitation, Caesar uttered the famous words, "Alia iacto estate." The die is cast. He crossed the Rubicon. The civil war had begun. What followed was a lightning campaign. Pompey and the Senate, caught off guard by Caesar's speed, abandoned Italy and fled east to Greece to regroup. Caesar secured Rome without a fight and then marched to Spain, defeating Pompey's legions there in just 40 days. The final showdown came in 48 BC at the Battle of Pharsalus in Greece. Caesar, though outnumbered, used his tactical brilliance to crush Pompey's forces. Pompey himself escaped, fleeing to Egypt, hoping for refuge. But the young pharaoh, Ptolemy XIII, seeking to curry favor with the victor, had Pompey assassinated as he stepped ashore. When Caesar arrived, he was presented with his rival's severed head. He was reportedly disgusted by the act, a dishonorable end for a great Roman. While in Egypt, Caesar became embroiled in a civil war between Ptolemy and his sister, Cleopatra. Famously, she had herself smuggled to him wrapped in a carpet. Captivated by her intelligence and charm, Caesar sided with Cleopatra, placing her on the throne of Egypt. Their affair would produce a son, Caesarion. After settling matters in Egypt, Caesar swept through the remaining pockets of resistance. Veni, Vidi, Vici, he wrote after a swift victory in Asia Minor. I came, I saw, I conquered. With his enemies defeated, he returned to Rome not just as a general, but as the undisputed master of the Roman world. He was made dictator, an office he would eventually hold for life. He initiated sweeping reforms, reorganizing the government, creating a new calendar, the Julian calendar, which we've adapted into our own, and launching massive public building projects. He offered clemency to many of his former enemies, hoping to heal the wounds of civil war. But for many in the Senate, his power was too absolute. His statues were erected. His face was put on coins while he was still alive, and he was granted honors once reserved for gods. They feared he intended to declare himself king, a title Romans had despised since the founding of their republic. A conspiracy began to form, led by men Caesar had pardoned, including Marcus Junius Brutus and Gaius Cassius Longinus. The conspirators chose the Ides of March, March 15th, 40 for BC, to strike. As Caesar entered a meeting of the Senate held at the theater of Pompey, he was surrounded. The senators drew daggers hidden in their togas and attacked. He was stabbed 23 times, falling at the foot of a statue of his great rival, Pompey. According to legend, his last words, upon seeing his protege Brutus among the assassins, were et tu, Brute? You too, Brutus. The assassins believed they were saving the Republic. They called themselves the Liberators, but instead of restoring freedom, they plunged Rome into another round of bloody civil war. Caesar's death did not save the Republic. It hastened its end. Out of the chaos rose Caesar's adopted heir, his great-nephew Octavian. Teaming up with Caesar's loyal general, Mark Antony, they hunted down and defeated the conspirators. But their alliance soon crumbled, leading to one final conflict. At the Battle of Actium, Octavian defeated Antony and his lover, Cleopatra. The two lovers took their own lives, and Octavian stood alone. He would take the name Augustus, becoming Rome's first emperor, and the Roman Republic was no more. Julius Caesar lived a life of staggering ambition and achievement. He was a military genius, a gifted writer, and a masterful politician who forever changed the course of Western history. His actions led directly to the fall of the Roman Republic and the rise of the Roman Empire. A complex and controversial figure, his legacy continues to fascinate and inspire debate to this day. His life story is a timeless epic of power, ambition, and the fragile nature of even the greatest republics. Thank you for joining us on Context of the Past. If you enjoyed this journey into history, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next video. We'll see you next time.